Just get a Steam Deck. Guys, it's true, the Steam Deck OLED is insane. I think it's definitely the perfect time to buy one right now, especially with prices going up in the gaming industry. I've had mine for about 6 months now, and the hype around this thing is definitely real. Every time I pick it up, I'm reminded why I love it. The build quality feels premium, the buttons and sticks feel super responsive, and that OLED screen, it just looks gorgeous. The colors just pop. Deep blacks, bright highlights, and games look way sharper than they should on a handheld. Even the menus and UI feel better to use on this display. But looks aside, the performance on this thing still blows me away. I've played everything from Dark Souls 3 to Marvel Rivals, and even playing Skate 3 through emulation. It's handled all of them without breaking a sweat. This isn't just one of those sponsored videos or anything. I just think if you're into gaming, the Steam Deck OLED might be one of the best purchases you can make right now. Even the LCD version is a beast. At just $3.99, it's insanely good value. I've recently started playing Risk of Rain 2 on the deck, and honestly, this game feels like it was made for it. The controls are super responsive, and everything just feels natural in your hands. And visually, man, the OLED screen is something else. The colors pop, the blacks are actually black, and even though it's a handheld, it doesn't feel like you're losing any quality. Risk of Rain 2 honestly looks really good on the Steam Deck. I've noticed the OLED model runs a bit cooler and the fan noise is quieter too, which just makes the whole experience nice overall. What's crazy is this isn't even one of those optimized for handheld games. It's just a normal PC title and the deck handles it like nothing. If you guys are thinking about buying this game for your Steam Deck, I'd highly recommend it. So far, it's been amazing to play it on this thing. When I first got the Steam Deck, I thought I'd be playing all the AAA title games. You know, stuff like Elden Ring, Marvel Rivals, Cyberpunk, all those heavy games that really push the Steam Deck. And yeah, the Steam Deck can totally handle them with a couple tweak settings. But funny enough, that's not what I've actually been playing the most. Instead, I found myself coming back to older games. Ones that have just been sitting in my Steam library collecting dust. Stuff like Risk of Rain 2, Skyrim, Hollow Knight, even Left 4 Dead 2. Games that I loved back in the day, but never really thought I'd revisit. There's something about playing these on a Steam Deck that just works. They load fast, and because they're less demanding, you get way better battery life too. It's the perfect combo. I think part of it is the portability too. The fact that you can just pick it up and run Risk of Rain or hop into Skyrim for 15 minutes before bed. It makes these older games feel completely new again. And because the deck's controls and display are so solid, the experience doesn't feel downgraded at all. It actually makes me appreciate these games more, because I can just enjoy them without worrying about performance or setups. And honestly, that's what surprised me the most. The Steam Deck made me enjoy gaming again. And it's not just about playing the new releases, it's about finally getting around to those old games that you've ignored for years, and realizing how good they still are. Of course, when I do want to hit something a bit more fast paced, I'll still jump into games like Marvel Rivals. And honestly, this one surprised me too. When I first tried Marvel Rivals on the Steam Deck, I didn't expect it to run this well. You'd think with all the explosions, abilities, and effects, it might lag a bit. But with a few tweaks, it's actually really smooth and playable. Frame rate holds up great, and the game feels super smooth, even in online matches. What I love about playing it on the deck is it's kinda crazy being able to play AAA titles like this anywhere. Like, this is a proper PC game, and I'm just sitting on the couch or lying in bed, running around as Iron Man. It still blows my mind. And sure, you might not get the absolute max graphics settings like on a desktop, but honestly, that's not the point. The fact that it runs this well portably is the reason I love the Steam Deck so much. And it's that balance between performance and portability. And that's honestly what makes it so good. It's not just the power, it's how comfortable it is to use. The controls feel solid and it just feels right in your hands. After a while, you kind of forget you're not on a full setup. It's that immersive. Plus, the customization side of it is crazy. You can tweak everything. Frame rate, TDP, resolution, refresh rate. You can even tweak these settings to save battery when you're out and about. It really lets you choose between raw power and battery life depending on what you're doing. And speaking of flexibility, this thing can handle pretty much anything. Whether it's newer games like Marvel Rivals or just older stuff from your library, it just works. And then there's emulation, which takes it even further. Lately, I've been playing Skate 3 on the deck, and it brings me right back. This game is definitely one of the classics, but it really surprised me just how good it runs here. It's a solid 60 FPS, smooth, stable, and honestly looks better than it ever did on my old Xbox 360. The controls feel super natural on the deck too. The triggers and sticks make flicking tricks and balancing grinds feel satisfying. And with the OLED screen, the colors just pop. It's wild seeing a game from over a decade ago look this clean and vibrant in your hands. And that's the thing, emulation is kind of the secret weapon of the Steam Deck. It's honestly perfect for it. You can play classic PlayStation or Xbox 360 titles, and they run amazingly well. I've been jumping between games like Medieval and UFC Undisputed 3, and both feel incredible. Medieval looks stunning on the OLED. The lighting and colors give it this haunted vibe, and UFC still feels super good to play. The best part is how simple it's become. Once you've got everything set up, you can easily play all the old nostalgic emulated games, and that's what makes the Steam Deck special. It's not just good for playing the new releases, but you can play everything, old or new, whenever you want. And speaking of flexibility, lossless scaling on the Steam Deck is honestly such a game changer. It basically makes lower resolution games look super sharp without compromising on performance. It's crazy how clean it can make everything look. I've got Elden Ring maxed out with scaling turned on, and it runs insanely smooth. Like way smoother than you'd expect on a handheld. The visuals are crazy good too. You're getting that full open world experience, those massive boss fights and all that atmosphere. But in your hands on an OLED screen, the colors, the lighting, everything just looks incredible. And the best part is it's super smooth. 60 frames per second most of the time with barely any drops. There is a tiny bit of blurring or warping if you turn the camera too fast, like when you spin around or quickly move through a dense area, but honestly it's barely noticeable. Once you start playing, your eyes just adjust and it feels completely natural. I actually prefer playing like this over the normal version. It just feels better. You're getting that full Elden Ring experience, but with smoother performance and cleaner visuals. And it's all portable. Alright, so jumping into some combat with this giant. Honestly, I was expecting the performance to dip a little bit. It handles it really well, as you can see, even with everything going on. It still feels super smooth and responsive, and I'm still getting a stable 60 FPS, which is just insane for a game that size on handheld. So yeah, guys, lossless scaling is definitely worth a try on the deck. It makes a huge difference, especially in games like this. I've used it on other titles too, like Forza Horizon 5 and even Cyberpunk, and it still holds up. The improvement is crazy, and honestly, just for $7 is definitely worth it. Speaking of performance, one game that completely surprised me on the Steam Deck is Dark Souls 3. I've talked about it before, but every time I go to boot it up, it still blows my mind how good it feels to play on this thing. Man, From Software games are just too good. You'd think a game like this, with its huge environments and fast combat, wouldn't run this well on a handheld, but it just does. It's super smooth, it looks incredible on the OLED screen, and the darker art style of Dark Souls really pops with those deep blacks and bright lighting. All the art and details in this game just look so clean and vibrant. The best part though is how natural it feels to play. The controls are spot on, dodging, parrying, switching weapons, it all feels super responsive. And that's what makes it work so well in handheld form. Honestly, if you've got Dark Souls 3 in your library, I'd try it on the Steam Deck. It runs super well, and it's one of those games that just fits the Steam Deck perfectly. I definitely recommend it. Something that really surprised me when I first bought this thing was just how much you can customize it. Like, I expected a few basic settings, but the amount of control you actually have is insane. On the OLED model, you get all the way up to 90Hz, which makes everything feel buttery smooth. Even just navigating the menus feels super clean, and you can easily just tweak a few settings to save battery life too. You can even tweak the TDP, basically how much power the deck uses. So if you're playing something lighter, you can turn it down and get more hours battery life. It's super easy to do, but it makes a huge difference. You can also use the Steam Deck as a desktop PC, and that still blows my mind. You can plug in a monitor, mouse, and keyboard, and the next thing you know, you're literally using it like a mini workstation. You can use it to browse the web, edit videos, upload files, basically anything you want. Alright, now let's talk about Silksong. This was definitely one of the most hyped games of the year, and for a really good reason. It's my favorite game by far on this thing. The art style is incredible and looks amazing on the OLED screen. It's gotta be one of the best looking games on the Steam Deck for sure. And in terms of performance, it's basically flawless. I'm getting a smooth 90 frames per second the entire time, no drops at all. So not only does it look incredible and get a smooth 90 frames per second, but the battery life also lasts like 5 hours, which is honestly insane. Like, you could take this thing on a flight, or just chill on the couch for hours without having to worry about plugging it in. If you own a Steam Deck or are thinking about getting one, you have to try out Hollow Knight Silksong. I highly recommend it on this thing. So yeah guys, after using the Steam Deck OLED for about 6 months now, I honestly think right now is the perfect time to pick one up. Especially with the price of things like Games Pass and the digital games on the Switch, the Steam Deck just feels like the best value handheld you can get. Both the LCD and the OLED are great, you can't really go wrong. Thank you guys for watching this far, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, it really helps the channel grow. I've got more videos coming soon on Steam Deck performance and some of my favorite games to play on it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.